दावा तो ये कर रहे हैं कि हम ईमान ले आए हैं और उनको आजमाया ना जाएगा। ये पूरी ज़िंदगी आजमाइश है। वलक़द फ़तन्नल्लज़ीना मिन क़ब्लिहिम फ़लयअलमन्नल्लाहुल्लज़ीना सदक़ू वलयअलमन्नल काज़िबीन। यकीनन हम उन लोगों को भी आजमा चुके जिनसे पहले थे, ताकि अल्लाह ताला ये ज़ाहिर कर दे कि सच्चे लोग कौन हैं और झूठे लोग कौन हैं। मन कान यअम हसिबल्लज़ीना यअमलून अस्सय्यात, क्या वो लोग जो बुराइयों का इर्तिकाब यहकुमून, बहुत बुरा है जो कुछ ये फैसला कर रहे हैं। मन कान यरजू लिक़ा अल्लाह, सुनो जो शख्स भी अल्लाह से मुलाकात की उम्मीद रखता है, ये अल्लाह का फ़इन्न अजलल्लाहि लआत, अल्लाह का मुक़र्रर वक्त लाज़िमन आने वाला है। वह हुवा समीउल अलीम, और अल्लाह ताला सब कुछ सुनने वाला भी है, सब कुछ जानने वाला भी है। सदक़ल्लाह।
मुअज़्ज़िज़ ख़वातीन व हज़रात, तिलावत कलाम पाक के बाद इफ्ताहिया कलमात के लिए तशरीफ़ लाते हैं मोहतरम सरमद अली, MD जंग ग्रुप।
And hence what we call load shedding has become the norm of our daily life. The current shortfall is around 4,500 megawatts a day, which is badly affecting not only the economic activities in the country but also the day-to-day life of the masses. If we consider the load of the industry that has been shut down, which amounts to something like 1,500 to 2,000 megawatts a day, then the situation is even worse. There is a shortfall of another 2,000 megawatts is added to this. Obviously, part of this shortfall is attributable to the non-payment of subsidies by the government, as well as what is described as circular debt. That is the non-payment by the energy sector to petroleum and gas companies, and resulting in non-supply of gas and petroleum and oil to the power producers. With this is the shortfall and shortage of water, or as we call the stoppage of water by India, which is resulting in lower water being available to the hydel system. Pakistan, as you all know, is hugely dependent on hydel power, and it amounts to something like 5,000 to 7,000 megawatts a day through hydel power generation. At the same time, there is a shortfall or shortage of gas supply in the country. The load shedding that is taking place in the country, the power load shedding is between 12 to 18 hours minimum in rural areas, and something like 8 to 10 hours a day in urban areas. This has brought the industrial sector to a virtual standstill. The industry in Faisalabad and Sialkot, for example, is practically in shambles, and the cottage industry in Gujranwala has virtually disappeared. Considering the indispensability of energy since 1947, the per capita power consumption has grown 82-fold. The current state of affairs can be called a very serious national crisis. What is the solution to this national crisis? Is it installation of more hydel facility? Yes. Is it the rental power plants? Question mark. Is it more thermal stations? Perhaps. But what this implies is that you need time, substantial time, to bring the new generation into the system. However, the use of solar energy is not that time consuming and is something that can be easily used. The use of solar energy is not something new for power generation. Most of the countries are doing it successfully, especially in Europe and even in our neighboring country, India, for decades, and their population is benefiting through the use of this virtually free access resource. Practical example of the use of solar could be seen in some villages of Pakistan. I remember I was talking to someone about a little while ago before I came here that in 1980-81 there was a solar energy expo that took place on the lawns of the Alhambra Arts Council, and it's 2010. I'm wondering what happened to that. It only, I think, goes to tell us that we were probably not serious in using this virtually free resource that is available to us to countries like us in abundance. Some villages of Pakistan have been provided solar panels. That is right. One such example is a village with the name of Nuria Khoria, some 40 kilometers from Islamabad, where 100 solar panels have been installed by a local firm, free of cost, to promote the use of solar energy among the masses. Through these panels, the residents of these 100 households in that village are enjoying light and fan facilities, something that was virtually unknown to them for years. Had these panels not been installed, the people living in this area would have continued to have been living in darkness that they were living in. To give you another example of the use of solar energy, you must have noted the solar energy panel installed on the poles along with the telephone booth on your left-hand side while commuting on motorway. Each of these telephones is being powered by this panel. A battery is installed beneath each solar panel to store energy for keeping the telephone in operation during night when there is no sunlight. It's a standalone system, entirely powered by solar energy. Another example is that if you're driving from Islamabad Rawalpindi towards Murray, on the newly constructed Murray Road, you will see on the right hand side blinking red hazard lights installed at the top of each MAPTA pole. Each of these lights is again being powered by a standalone solar system. So these are just a few examples that are taking place in Punjab. But have we ever thought of using solar energy on a larger scale? I doubt if we have. I think it is important for the people sitting in the government with the responsibility of planning for the future of this country to look at alternate sources of energy, to look at power, to look at solar as well as perhaps wind power. These are the resources that are abundantly available to us. Many countries in the world, of Spain, where 60% of power is being generated through solar. A region in Spain called Navarra, where 60% of power is being generated through solar. If it can be done, participants in the conference are able to put forward some recommendations to the government for bringing in solar energy into Pakistan.
ख्वाजा आसिफ साहब ने एक इंतहाई अहम मीटिंग में और अपने ख्याल
I'm delighted to be here to inaugurate Pakistan Solar Expo 2010 International Exhibition and Conference. This is an extremely significant event which addresses one of the most fundamental problems facing our economy today. The shortage of available power and urgent need to develop alternate energy resources. You're all familiar with the problems caused by power shortages, load shedding difficulties for industries and manufacturing, for commerce, difficulties faced by ordinary citizens in their daily lives, the human, physical and financial toll this is taking in our country is enormous. Moreover, the gap between demand and supply is widening as our population expands. If we want strong economic growth, we want to achieve our development goals. If we want our country to advance in the 21st century, we have to sort out our problem as soon as possible. But as you will also all be aware, we are living in an era of global warming, climate change and depleting fossil fuels. Oil, coal and gas supplies are not infinite. They are a limited resource that will eventually run out. We have to develop alternate energy resources before this happens. Wind power and nuclear energy are two options, but for Pakistan by far the most suitable is solar power. No natural resource is as abundant as the sun. Solar power is both vast and sustainable. It is clean, causing no environmental pollution. Just a 1 kilowatt home solar system can generate as much power as burning 170 pounds of coal and thus prevent 300 pounds of CO2 from being released into the atmosphere. In Pakistan, we are blessed with long hours of sunshine. Solar power could potentially meet most of our energy needs. Certainly with just a little effort, it could be fueling our domestic lighting, cooking and heating, and with the right technology and investment, its applications could be much, much greater. I welcome this Pakistan Solar Expo 2010 as an opportunity to promote the use of solar power in this country. This international exhibition and conference is the first of its kind in Pakistan. It is an event whose time has most definitely come. Indeed, it is long overdue. The Solar Expo will facilitate learning, exchange of ideas, networking and building of partnership between local and international manufacturers, suppliers, researchers, private and public sector users. I am confident that it will lead to progress both in use of solar power and in understanding and developing the technology to harness it. Let me stress that our long-term goal is self-sufficiency. We must have the capacity to produce solar cells, panels, systems and eventually thermal power plants ourselves. Pakistan is just embarking on the solar energy path, but other countries have been exploring this power source for much longer. We can learn a lot from their experience and expertise. I'm extremely grateful to our friends from Germany, France, Italy, UK, US, China, Singapore, Japan, Russia, North Korea, Turkey, the Netherlands, and other countries for participating in this event. Your coming here, in spite of the obvious security concerns, is highly appreciated. I hope your stay in Lahore will be comfortable and productive. Let me also take this opportunity to commend the organizers of Pakistan Solar Expo 2010, the Young Geo Group. The media in Pakistan is often engaged purely in criticism, disparaging the efforts of those in government without presenting sound alternatives. In this expo, we see a media organization trying to constructively address the problem facing our country. I would describe this as welcome change and look forward to more such positive media adventures. In conclusion, Pakistan is facing an energy crisis. Solar power represents a viable solution. We have to make every effort to take advantage of this. The Pakistan Solar Expo 2010 is an important initiative in this regard. I congratulate all those involved for putting it together. Looking forward to Pakistan harnessing the power of the sun to meet its energy needs and achieve growth and prosperity for its people. Thank you very much.
नहमदुहु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिल करीम अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह वस्सलामु अलैका या हबीबल्लाह। मैं अभी जब मेरे भाई ने मुझे बुलाया तो मैं खाई साहब को कह रहा था, मैंने कहा मेरा जो असल पहला डिपार्टमेंट है जेल खाना जाट, और जो मेरी बड़ी मशहूरी का सबब भी बना इन्होंने। सो मेरे इंतहाई काबिल एहतराम हमारी जमात, मेरे कायद जनाब मियाँ मोहम्मद नवाज शरीफ के जनाब ख्वाजा मोहम्मद आसिफ साहब, हमारे लिए इंतहाई काबिल एहतराम सरमद अली साहब MD जंग ग्रुप, मैं आपको मुबारकबाद पेश करता हूँ कि आपने इस मौका पे इस वक्त पाकिस्तान के अंदर मैं समझता हूँ कि वाक़ईतन एक बहुत बड़े हम क्राइसिस की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं। इस मौका पे जर्मनी से आए हुए हमारे मेहमानों को मैं खुशामदीद कहता हूँ। मेरे भाई जनाब तनवीरुल इस्लाम साहब, सूबाई वज़ीर जनाब डॉक्टर ज़फ़र इकबाल सैदी साहब एंड मिस्टर नोर फ्रॉम जर्मनी, जनाब अली जुल्करनैन साहब, कि जिस तरह आज जिस जगह पे हम जाके खड़े हो गए हैं लाइक बिजली के हवाले से, कि जैसे इस मुल्क और कौम के खिलाफ ये भी एक, जहां और बहुत सी साजिशें जन्म ले चुकी हैं, ये भी एक साजिश का हिस्सा है कि जब भी कोई घर जाता है बाहर से थका हुआ या ऑफिस में बैठता है, अपना काम शुरू करने लगता है, अब बिजली नहीं है, घर जाते हैं, सोने की तैयारी होती है, बिजली नहीं है, मतलब एक तमाशा बना दिया गया है इस मुल्क और कौम को। ये एक बड़ी जिंदा और टैलेंटेड कौम है और इस कौम के साथ एज ए पॉलिटिकल वर्कर, एज ए पाकिस्तानी, मुझे ये कहने में कोई एतराज़ और हद नहीं है कि अब इस कौम के साथ ये मजाक एट एनी कॉस्ट बंद होना चाहिए, और जो लोग इसके जिम्मेदार हैं उन्हें अपनी जिम्मेदारी का एहसास करते हुए अपनी जिम्मेदारियों को पूरा करना चाहिए। और जो हमारे पावर जनरेशन प्लांट्स जो बंद पड़े हैं, किस किस वजह से बंद हैं, ये उन्हें अच्छी तरह पता है। इससे पहले कि अवाम बाहर बिजली के क्राइसिस की वजह से, इन मामलात की वजह से रोड्स पे आए और कुछ उससे आगे कोई मामलात हों और फिर उन पावर जनरेशन प्लांट्स जो हमारे बंद हैं उनको चलाया जाए, बेहतर ये है। आज इस फोरम से मैं दरख्वास्त कर रहा हूँ उनसे कि अभी से इस पे बड़ा सीरियस कोई एक्शन लिया जाए, और ये बड़ी ज्यादती है इस मुल्क और कौम के साथ कि इसकी तकदीर के साथ एक मजाक किया जा रहा है, विच इज़ टोटली रॉन्ग। और मजीद हम इस तरह की कोई चीज़ ना अफोर्ड कर सकते हैं, ना ये कौम बर्दाश्त करेगी। तो इस मौका पे जंग ग्रुप को मैं अप्रिशिएट करना चाहता हूँ कि उन्होंने सोलर एनर्जी के हवाले से जो ये इंट्रोड्यूस करवाई है, जो ये एक्सपो जो आज यहाँ पे इन्होंने ये खूबसूरत गुलदस्ता सजाया है, मैं इनको अप्रिशिएट करना चाहता हूँ। अब असल बात तो हमारे चीफ गेस्ट साहब कर चुके हैं, मेरे बात करने की गुंजाइश यकीनन अब नहीं है, जो कि मुझे बुलाया गया आखिर एक मेरे दिमाग के अंदर क्लिक कर रही थी। बहुत से प्रोग्राम्स में मैं जाता हूँ, इंग्लिश में स्पीचेस होती हैं, हमारे मुल्क की 90% लोग इंग्लिश को समझ ही नहीं पाते, इस कौम के ऊपर से वो सारा कुछ गुजर जाता है। इंग्लिश बोली जाती है थोड़े से लोगों को समझाने के लिए, मैं समझता हूँ वक्त आ गया, दिस इज द प्रॉपर टाइम कि हमारी जो नेशनल लैंग्वेज है, जो हमारी जुबान है, उसको प्रमोट किया जाए। और जिन कौमों ने तरक्की की है, अपनी आइडेंटिफिकेशन को उन्होंने बरकरार रखा है। आप सिंगापुर से शुरू हो जाएं, हांगकांग, जापानीज, चाइनीज, हमारे जो पड़ोसी हैं, तमाम कौमें, इवन जर्मन अपनी जुबान से नहीं हटे, लेकिन हम अंग्रेजी बोल के, अंग्रेजी में स्पीचेस करके ये कॉन्फ्रेंसेस होती हैं और उसके बाद सब कुछ क्लोज हो जाता है। मैं समझता हूँ ये कौम अब मजीद अंग्रेजी के चक्कर में नहीं रहना चाहती। अब इस कौम को प्रॉपर काम करके दिखाएं, प्रैक्टिकल तौर पे ये कौम देखना चाहती है कि हमारी क़यादत, हमारी लीडरशिप हमारे लिए क्या कर रही है। मैं समझता हूँ आज मीडिया ने बड़ी अवेयरनेस दी है। एक झोंपड़ी के अंदर दूर दराज एरियाज में अगर एक बूढ़ी औरत बैठी है तो वो भी मीडिया ने उसको भी इंतहाई अवेयरनेस दी है हमारे पॉलिटिकल जो सिनेरियो है उसके हवाले से। अदरवाइज पूरी दुनिया को दिया। मैं समझता हूँ वो बूढ़ी खातून भी ये जानना चाहती है कि सोलर एनर्जी क्या है, तो इसलिए मैं समझता हूँ आसान अपनी लैंग्वेज में समझाया जाए, बताया जाए इस कौम को, और अंग्रेजी बोल के कोई मैं तो समझना, खुदा की कसम ये पंजाबी और उर्दू बोल के दुनिया की आज एटॉमिक पावर बन गई है ये कौम। हम अपनी मंजिल की तरफ बड़ी तेजी से बढ़ रहे हैं। जहाज जो कोई भी फ्लाइट टेक ऑफ करती है, एयर पॉकेट्स आती है, बट अल्टीमेटली फ्लाइट स्मूथ होती है। अल्लाह के फजल करम से आज इस कौम को अल्लाह करीम ने एक ऐसा लीडर दिया है जिनका नाम मोहम्मद नवाज शरीफ है, जिनका नाम शहबाज पाकिस्तान जनाब शहबाज शरीफ है, जो एक जिन्होंने एक वीर जिंदाबाद नवाज शरीफ जिंदाबाद, शहबाज शरीफ जिंदाबाद।
चौधरी साहब ने अंग्रेजी के खिलाफ तकरीबन अंग्रेजी में तकरीर की ये चीज़ आपको एक यूनिक नज़र आएगी, ये अंग्रेजी के खिलाफ अंग्रेजी में तकरीर होगी। समझाने की बात है, अगर ये तकरीर अंग्रेजी की चीफ मिनिस्टर ने की होती मेरी जगह, तो ये जो है ना, ये बात ना करते।
मुअज़्ज़िज़ ख़वातीन व हज़रात, आज के हमारे इंतहाई काबिल एहतराम मेहमान डायरेक्टर जनरल पिकरेट जनाब डॉक्टर ज़फ़र इक़बाल ज़ैदी साहब से गुजारिश है कि वो तशरीफ़ लाएँ और अपने ख्यालात का इज़हार करें। अल्टरनेट एनर्जी के हवाले से डॉक्टर साहब बहुत मोहतर नाम है मुल्क का, और हम चाहेंगे कि इनसे कुछ सुनें।
At least I had to fix what to do. I should speak in English or in Urdu, but I will just do both because we do have some small, experts here. So, Honorable Khwaja Asif Sahab, Chaudhry Abdul Ghafoor Sahab, Dr. Tanveer Islam Sahab, Malik Ahmed Ali Sahab, Sarmat Ali Sahab, Shahzad Ali Zulkarnain Sahab. I am really grateful to Jung Group for organizing this event. This is the first Pakistan Solar Expo, which will definitely create general awareness among the general people. It will promote solar energy products. It will promote the solar energy companies in their business. There will be deliberations on the barriers in promoting the solar energy and other sources of energy, and there will be recommendations at the end of the conference also. The modern energy services are a powerful energy engine of the economic and social development, and no country has managed to develop much beyond a sustainable economy without ensuring at least access to energy services for a broad population. The main sources of energy today are coal, fuel, there's petroleum and gas, which are depleting very fast. And also in Pakistan, we are actually a solar importing, this oil importing country, and Pakistan has to spend about $12 billion, more than $12 billion to import the expensive energy. And also, there will be about 70,000 villages which cannot be electrified in our lifetime. The situation has become even more difficult in the wake of meeting international obligations under Kyoto Protocol to reduce greenhouse gases emission and at the same time to meet the increasing demand of energy. Pakistan stands 30th in the terms of commercial energy consumption. The Pakistan per capita consumption of energy is 0.36 ton of oil equivalent against the world electricity against 2,516 kilowatt hours of the world average. The environmental impact of the energy production are another an obstacle which are not added to the cost of the fuel. Otherwise, the alternate source of energy, which is solar, is one of them, can become feasible today. The cost which are not added to the conventional sources, the coal is costing about $14.5 per gigajoules, and petroleum 12.52 gigajoules, and natural gas 8.26 gigajoules. These are the costs which are not added because the environmental pollution is causing deaths. They are causing damage to the human and to the animals and to the environment. So this cost should also be added to the cost of production of the conventional sources of energy which are being used today. Now there are three options for worldwide and also for Pakistan that energy saving on the demand side. At the user end, that we should switch off all those lights which are not desired, especially for those who are living in big houses. So they should just try to conserve the energy. Another is the efficiency improvement in the energy production, that we should use efficient way of producing the energy, and there should be no line losses also, you see. And third option, which is the most desired, is replacement of fossil fuel by various sources of conventional sources, alternate sources of energy, among which solar energy is one of them. That is wind energy, microhydel, biogas, biomass. These are the conventional sources of energy. These are the renewable sources of energy, and there is an advantage of using the solar energy, that is energy independence, growth of local energy engineering industry, increase the dependency on imported fuels, diversity of supplies, social cohesion, environmental benefits, job creation, image building of the country as a socially conscious, responsible nation. So it is imperative because solar is the source of energy in the whole world. And you see that Pakistan is among the Sun Belt countries and receiving the maximum solar installation. Balochistan, Sindh and Southern Punjab receives 2 megawatt per hour per meter square solar radiation, and there are more than 3,000 hours of sunshine in the year. The average solar radiation which is falling in Pakistan is 5.5 kilowatt per meter square per day. The total potential of the solar energy is 2.9 million megawatt. Now it's a peanut. Pakistan is producing 20,000 megawatt, where it has been discussed before that we have a shortfall of 4,500 kilowatt. You see, it's enormous. I will just quote some of the figures of the other sources of energy which we have. These small hydro below 50 megawatt, we have the potential of 4,500 megawatt, and the other hydro potential in Pakistan is that is about 50,000 megawatt, and in Pakistan there is a canal work. Pakistan has got 150,000 kilometer long canal work. We can put this wall, various type of turbines, and can generate about 5 to 50 kilowatt of energy from them. The wind potential is 3,40,000 megawatt. You see what a country that. What are the resources we have? Pakistan is spending about $12 billion to import this commercial fuel. We have a debt of about $55 million. If we can save this $12 billion in 4.5 years' time, Pakistan can pay off all its debt. But it's a matter of only harnessing this, and it's the priority of the government that they should take a serious note of shifting this to the conventional source of energy. And in the end, I would like to just say that we need to have a paradigm shift in the energy production from the traditional sources to the more sustainable and environmentally friendly renewable sources, while bringing an affordable strategic balance between the effectiveness and environment-friendly sources. Thank you very much.
गुजारिश करूँगा काबिल एहतराम मलक अहमद लियोलक वज़ीर ज़राअत पंजाब से कि वो तशरीफ लाएँ और अपने ख्यालात का इज़हार फरमाएँ।
नहीं थे तक नहीं सिर्फ ना बोल दे नहीं बस फोकस में छेड़ी उल्टा दिख करते हैं फोकस
आज की इस अहम तकरीब में पंजाब में मोहम्मद शाबाशी साहब ने शाना था की खरीदारी का सीजन शुरू होने वाला है और उसमें बहुत सारे मसाइल हैं हमारे पास। आपका साल की एकदम तकरीबन 31 लाख टन पड़ी है और पर आपका सीजन खत्म होगा तो 28 लाख टन हमारे पास बचेगी और आइंदा जो गन्नम रिक्वायरमेंट करनी है उसके लिए खासी फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट की जरूरत है। फेडरल गवर्नमेंट इस्लामाबाद ले गए हैं, उन्होंने ख्वाजा आसफ साहब मुझे भी था, मैं जा रहा था, मुझे कहा गया कि मैं आज की सेहत हमारे लिए ज़ाती बात है कि एनर्जी के इशू पर यही अहम है। पाकिस्तान मैं समझता हूँ कि नंबर 1 मसला है वो एनर्जी का, उस पर कॉन्फ्रेंस की जा रही है। इसलिए मैं साहब और करनैन साहब और बाकी जो उनके ऑर्गेनाइज़र हैं जंग मीडिया ग्रुप के ममनून हूँ कि उन्होंने इंतहाई अहम मौजू पर आज की ये कॉन्फ्रेंस की है।
इंतहाई काबिल एहतराम चौधरी अब्दुल गफूर मिनिस्टर फॉर प्रेजेंस, मलक अहमद लियोलक साहब वज़ीर ज़राअत, शहज़ादा अली ज़ुल्करनैन साहब, मेरे इंतहाई काबिल एहतराम एक्सेलेंसी ख्वाजा आसफ साहब जा चुके हैं, डॉक्टर मोर साहब इज एक्सेलेंसी फ्राम जर्मनी, डॉक्टर ज़फ़र इकबाल ज़ैदी साहब, राज के ऑनरेबल guests, distinguished participants, Assalamu alaikum. I'm really thankful to Jung Group who has been arranged such a conference, which means not only for Pakistan, which means all the Pakistanis and new generations, even though after 20 years and 40 years. I really congratulate for them. I request all of you to have a big hands for the Jung Group. It's quite pleasure for me. They gave me chance to be over here. They called me. I'm really thankful to them. Their topic was this one, the future of solar energy in Pakistan. बाद में करूंगा जो चोरी गफूर साहब ने कही थी उर्दू में कर लेनी चाहिए, लेकिन चूंकि हमारे गेस्ट कुछ ऐसे हैं जिन्हें शायद उर्दू नहीं आती और वो हमारे इस टाइम पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं और हमारा बहसियत ये तकाजा बनता है कि हम उस लैंग्वेज में बात करें जिस लैंग्वेज में वो समझ सकें। इसलिए
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all on behalf of Jung Media Group on this auspicious occasion. I would like to say that this is indeed a historical occasion for all of us to have among us internationally known personalities, and we are very grateful to you that you have spared your precious time and joined us. For a country like Pakistan, launching of such ceremony will definitely boost the economic activity in the country, which will finally produce fruitful results for the prosperity of nation if adopted. Presently, Pakistan is facing hardships in achieving the proper target for hydroelectric energy, and this can be only possible if, on emergent basis, we move rapidly to get maximum benefits from the solar energy, which is abundantly available in Pakistan, luckily throughout the year. Solar energy, radiant light and heat from the sun, has been harnessed by humans since ancient times using a range of ever-evolving technologies. To harvest the solar energy, the most common way is to use solar panels. Solar energy is the energy coming from the sun. Sunlight does not pollute the environment in any way. The energy coming up from the sun is used directly and indirectly. The sun rays are ultimate source of life on earth. We are dependent on the sun for all our food and fuels. Solar energy reaching earth is thousands times more than the consumption of mankind. To use the solar energy is not new. However, its use in houses and offices as well as for commercial and industrial purposes is quite recent. Complete solar houses heating systems are successfully used in areas with a minimum amount of sunshine. Pakistan in all seasons, solar energy is one of the most valuable options for Pakistan. Even countries with less sunlight are making the best use of this free resource. We in Pakistan are not short of sunlight, as sun shines on the entire length and breadth of the country throughout the year. We can make use of this resource and contribute towards meeting the shortfall of electricity. To conclude, it is of vital importance to note that solar energy plays a PD role not only in providing us solar energy but enlightening the nation's wishes and desires, and at any cost. Preference should be given for manufacturing the required components and on local basis. With these words, I thank all participants for going through the proceeding potentially and patiently, and it is really admirable. Now, I will announce the names of the respectable personalities who are going to receive their shields on these auspicious occasions for their services. जी अब सबसे पहले मैं दावत दूंगी जनाब डॉक्टर जफर इकबाल सैदी को, जो कि डीजी है पाकिस्तान काउंसिल ऑफ रिन्यूएबल टेक्नोलॉजीज इंस्पेक्टरेट। अब तशरीफ आएंगे मिस्टर जुबैर जावेद, जो कि चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर हैं PPTCL। Mr. Zubair Javed.
सर इस तरफ देखिएगा।
Mr. Niaz Ahmed Bhatia, Director, Alternate Energy Systems. Mr. Naveed Iqbal, Director, Akhtar Solar Limited. जो कि MD है सोलर टेक के, कि वो आएँ और अपनी शील्ड रिसीव करें। मिस्टर सैफुर रहमान। And now I would like to invite Mr. Edward Wagner, He is MD IRES Germany. Mr. Edward Wagner. सर्विसेज के कि वो आएं और अपनी शील्ड रिसीव करें। मिस्टर सबूर अहमद। मिस्टर मोहम्मद असलम आज़ाद, MD एजको प्राइवेट लिमिटेड। जी बहुत शुक्रिया। मिस्टर कमाल मिर्ज़ा, DGM टेक्निकल ईडन हाउसिंग, आपसे गुजारिश है कि आप भी आएं और अपनी शील्ड रिसीव करें। मिस्टर कमाल मिर्ज़ा। मिस्टर एजाज भट्ट, GM ऑपरेशंस पंजाब दास भट्ट। मिस्टर शरीफ इंटरनेशनल ग्रुप, आप आएँ और अपनी शीट। आप हैं डायरेक्टर SRE सॉल्यूशंस के। मिस्टर ताहिर खलीफा अपनी शील्ड वसूल कर रहे हैं। प्रलास से गुजारिश है कि वो स्टेज पर आएँ और अपनी शील्ड वसूल करें। मुश्ताक, ही इज़ चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर वार्ड्स एंड वार्ड्स। मोबाइल पावर सॉल्यूशंस, कि आप स्टेज पर आएं और अपनी शील्ड पैमाने से वसूल करें। मिस्टर फैसल कादरी। मिसेस सायरा उस्मान, जो कि वाइस प्रेसिडेंट है सायरा वेलफेयर फाउंडेशन की, अपनी शील्ड वसूल कर रही हैं। मोहम्मद नदीम भट्टी, he is from Federation of Chamber. Dr. Suhaimat Matrix, MD Park Global Group.
जी जफर शाह साहब के मुझे नहीं पता, इधर ही कहीं उनकी वो बात कर रहे हैं ना, गल का फर्क मिल जाना। हेलो
मिस्टर सुहेल अहमद ताज।
अच्छा अच्छा।
Council of Renewable Energy and Technologies. Thank you, sir. Now I will request Madam Sadia Sharif, Director, Jan Group. Please welcome on stage. Thank you, Madam. Mr. Sharif Javed, Special Reports Editor, Jan Group. Officer, Punjab Power Development Company. Director, Akhtar Solar Limited. Chairman, IRES. Project Expert, Inaugurate, Ministry of Environment. Members of Recommendation Committee, Mr. Sharjeel Ahmad Sulehri, Mr. M. Nadeem Zakir, and Mr. M. Shahid Khan to please come on stage and have their seats. Now I request Mr. Zulkarnain to come for a recitation of Quran Pak.
إلا الذين عملوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله.
Proceed to our program. First of all, I would like to invite Madam Sadia Sharif, Director, Jal Group, to come on rostrum for her welcome address. Media house in the country with interest in newspapers, television, and the web. A debate on energy, its sources, potentials, and obstacles could not be more relevant than it is today. The crisis Pakistan is facing on this
energy in the buildings. You might be surprised to know that at least 35% of our energy is consumed in buildings in one form or the other. At the present design of buildings is nothing but energy guzzlers. We are wasting a lot of energy in cooling and heating spaces. We must go back to the history, the old architectural designs where we can make.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we should proceed towards our technical session of presentation. In this session, we have distinguished speakers with us who will deliver their views. First of all, I will invite Dr. Zafar Iqbal Zaidi, Director General of Pakistan Council of Renewable Energy Technologies. Sir, you are welcome.
Now, you know that the socio-economic development of the country is dependent on the availability of the conventional sources of energy, which today are coal, oil, and gas, and that too are depleting very fast. In addition to this, there is environmental pollution, and now the whole world is conscious of the clean environment globally. In the whole world, there are more than 2 billion people who do not have access to the commercial energy, and in Pakistan also there are more than 70,000 villages which cannot be connected to the grid in our lifetime. Pakistan is an oil importing country, and it relies exclusively upon fossil fuel and hydroelectricity as its primary energy supplies. Now, the situation is getting still adverse because we have to meet the international obligations and quota protocols to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. So it is imperative that we have to shift to the conventional sources of energy, and solar energy is one of them. Now this is the world electricity generation by fuel. You can see this from 2006 to 2030 has been extrapolated. Nuclear, renewable, natural gas, and coal and liquid. This is their just contribution. This is a composition that how the whole world is using different types of fuel at present. Now this is the world market energy by fuel from 1980, which is the history, to 2006, and afterwards it has been separated. And you see that the renewable also has to play some role, not very significantly, but anyhow, the contribution is gradually increasing worldwide. Pakistan stands second in terms of commercial energy consumption, and as my one of the speakers also spoke, that we are exporting more than $12 billion annually, and it is expected that the energy consumption is going to increase by 7-fold. Now this is an energy security plan in Vision 2030, where the composition of different fuels which will be used, gas, hydro, renewable, nuclear, oil and coal. Among this, the gas has got a very significant 77,820 megawatt. And nuclear also has to play a good role, 9,520 megawatt. It's expected to be. These are the environmental impact of the energy production. And in case of petroleum, the refining of the petroleum and the use of petroleum is causing environmental pollution, which emits oxides of carbon, sulfur, nitrogen, carbon, and soot, ash, droplets of tar, and other organic components which are health hazards. In case of coal, because you see in Pakistan, we are not using this coal, but in the whole world, China is using about 70% of its energy consumption uses by coal. So, but this is actually not environment friendly, and here the problem is still more difficult because from extraction, transportation, storage, and use, all the stages there is pollution, which is an emission of the oxide, which I have already said. In addition to this, there are trace metals, radionuclides, which are also emitted to the environment. In case of nuclear energy, now this causes the intake of the land, and then there is an impact on the groundwater, then radiological exposure to the workers working in the nearby areas and in the local residents. And in addition to this, there is a safety problem, as is the case of the Ukraine nuclear plant. The damages which we don't add to the cost, in fact, the human ailments, the natural calamity which is getting an adverse effect, if we add to that, the experts have worked on and have calculated that it's cost about $40.51 per gigajoule of coal, and likewise for petroleum and natural gases, they do have these values. And if this is added to the cost, even today, the alternate source of energy, among which solar energy is one of them, can be cost effective. Sustainable energy development has in the country, because you see that we are passing through crisis, as has been said, that instead of going up, which is the production capacity today is 20,000 megawatt, we are going down. And the whole of Pakistan is adversely having its impact, and which is more severe on the industry. There is a shutdown of the industry. See, so what progress we are going to go to have? So now we just have to really think about the problem, and this is the energy saving on the demand side, which I said yesterday also, that we should be very conscious about the spending of the energy, that we should conserve it. We should use only those lights, because we see that the whole country is passing through crises which are really needed. We should just stop using the air conditioners, because at present our country cannot afford. We have to give some sacrifice when 95% of the country is having no access to, more than 70% people are living in the remote places. I mean, they are having 18 hours of load shedding is something like this. So those people who can afford generators and everything, they should also think over that we should conserve the energy at the consumer side. Then the efficiency improvement in the energy production. Some person from the General will be here, it's their subject, so I will not deliberate, and it's my subject. Then the replacement of the fossil fuel by various sources of energy. Pakistan is one of the countries where we are living. We have got a lot of resources. We are living in the sunbelt countries. So there are actually enormous potential of the renewable energy in Pakistan. Now, the use of the advantages of using the renewable energy is that security, energy security and independence, growth of local energy industry, decrease dependency on impact fuel, diversity of supplies, cohesion, social cohesion by deploying in remote, off-grid areas, environment benefits, job creations, image building of the country as a socially conscious, responsible nation. This is the global investment in renewable energy technology, which was started in 2002, which was $22 billion, and which we have realized today, the photovoltaic is negligible use in niche application in Pakistan. The small hydro potential, we have harnessed about 50 megawatts. I'm talking about small micro hydro plants. Wind energy, only there is one of commercial nature, which is 6 megawatts, and the others are all micro hydro in the range of 0.5 to 10 kilowatts. Whereas in the case of biomass and biogas, the bagasse is used now for cogeneration purpose, and recently they've been allowed to sell surplus power to this grid. And the improved cook stoves and biogas plants, the Pakistan Council of Renewable Technology is working on. These are in the case of solar, is photovoltaic and solar thermal, microhydro, bioenergy, which is biogas, biomass, and wind energy. Now in the solar energy, there are two parts. One is photovoltaic, which generates electricity, and the organization has developed the solar cell production capacity. We are producing the solar cells, designing, installation, and maintenance of the solar system. And at present, it's an R&D to effectively deploy renewable energy technology. They are obtaining commitment at the highest level of government based on a sophisticated understanding of the dynamics behind renewable energy technology, adoption and utilization. Formulating potent policy and regulatory framework that can promote the development and deployment of renewable energy technology and renewable projects. Requiring measures to remove constraints faced in renewable energy research, development and deployment. Designing and deploying holistic incentives to attract investment both locally and from international sources to fund large-scale and small-scale renewable energy technology projects. And this I conclude that, keeping in view the current global scenario in general and Pakistan's energy scenario in particular, the adoption and deployment of alternate and renewable energy technologies makes perfect sense, as it inherently favors indigenous waste energy resources, cost energy should be, which also happens to be the most energy efficient. A major shift in government policy and planning is required to favor deployment of alternate energy technologies. The technologies can be easily deployed in areas where conventional grid electricity cannot have access and entry due to technical and economic reasons. The deployment of alternate energy technologies have direct and indirect impact on poverty alleviation by improving the livelihood and quality of life for meeting the Millennium Development Goals. And thank you very much. सर ये बात ये है कि मेरे आने से पहले इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में 25 साल से ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है और इस पे एक्चुअली बहुत काम हुआ है। अब उस काम का क्या फायदा है कि वो काम बिल्कुल एक उसमें कोई के अंदर बंद हुआ है। जब तक कि इतनी बड़ी आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट हो चुकी है इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के ऊपर, इतना आपके पास एक्सपर्टीज मौजूद है, तो ये एक्सपर्टीज लोगों तक पहुंचे तो फायदा है। अगर नहीं पहुंचे तो फिर हम गवर्नमेंट के वही रूल्स में या रेगुलेशन में लगे रहे कि हमें ऑडिट ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं हो सकता, कि हम ये नहीं कर सकते, वो नहीं कर सकते। तो मैंने तो कहा यार जो मुझे फांसी लगानी है आप लगा दें, मैं तो इसमें आई विल गो। द डे आई जस्ट जॉइंड एज द डायरेक्टर जनरल 5 महीने पहले, सबसे पहले मैंने एक एमओयू साइन किया एक प्राइवेट कंपनी के साथ में। अभी भी हमारे 2-3 जो है वो पाइपलाइन के अंदर है और वो भी इंशाल्लाह तस्लीक ये है कि अब आप ये देखें कि मैं छोटी सी आपसे बात करूं कि अभी हम इस कॉन्फ्रेंस के अंदर, क्योंकि काफी बड़ा इंटरेक्शन रहा है एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर से, उनसे भी काफी बात हुई कि क्या होना चाहिए क्या नहीं होना चाहिए।
My topic is global warming and how it is affecting us and how PV technology is helpful for us to conquer this problem. My presentation will be in a sequence. First we will define negative impacts on us, and then we will move ahead with the reasons for warming, and in the end we will talk a little bit about PV module and the main topic of how to reduce the cost of the PV module, the which factors involved which are making the PV module expensive technology-wise. Increase of efficiency. Once efficiency increase होगी तो cost आपकी reduce होगी. उसकी मुख्तलिफ चीजों के ऊपर काम हो रहा है, लेकिन right now जो market में available है वो silicone.
At what rate?
I told you almost $2.5.
Where is China sells 1.5? So you sell it.
I told you कि Q cell Germany इस्तेमाल हो रहा है. बहुत सारी बातें discussion आ जाएगी.
Would like first of all to express that I was quite impressed about it. Thank you also for inviting us. We use this afternoon briefly about strategies and implementation plans for promoting solar energy in Pakistan. Company which has its headquarters in Korbach, 200 kilometers north of Frankfurt. IRIS stands for International Renewable Energy Systems. We project and build or something like that. Well, it depends on whether you in agricultural area or depending what project you're talking about.
I'm more interested in projects related to big scale plants, especially for rural villages where there's a lack of electricity. Right?
Tube wells systems and things like that. So if you are against cheap costs.
Could you give a sort of comparison in terms of per kilowatt? For instance, the gentleman from Uttar mentioned that their costs are about $2.50 per kilowatt or per watt. In your case, is this pricing similar?
Well, I think, as I only want to repeat, I mean, it depends on the individual case. I wouldn't like to give now a general answer to that.
Before continuing on with my presentation, I would like to add a few words. Dr. Sahab just said, Dr. Professor, energy efficiency is our domain, so you want. I just wanted to inform that recently Enercon has joined hand with UNDP.
Solar or alternate resources for the usage of energy. Many suggestions are that we can make our laws for the building constructions that a whole house should use its some percentage of power by solar system. Its heating system should be at least 10% or 15% of its electric load should be on solar or alternate resources. So this is initial step for the awareness of alternate energies. Mr. Riyazada sir told us that the equipment is duty-free, but now we have imported our solar pump and we have paid more than 5% duty on that equipment. So we request our government to